Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to our Watching Service Business Mastery podcast. I am your host, Tersh Blissett, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we have an awesome guest. We have Billy Stevens with Sera and on the show today. And we're going to talk about job efficiency. And we're going to do this in 20 minutes or less. And so
we're going to try to be efficient while talking about job efficiency.
Exactly. 100%. So for those of you who don't know, Sera is a sponsor of the podcast, amazing supporter of the podcast, and has done amazing things for us. And we are super excited to talk with Billy. And I don't want to talk too much here on the intro because I want to get into the meats and potatoes here because it's we could go long on this for sure. So Josh, you want to add something?
Yeah, Billy's shown us the back end of this before it was like officially like fully done like several weeks ago. And I think this is going to kind of blow people's minds, and you're going to really understand how to be not only understand your job efficiency, but what that does for your pricing, both higher and ultimately possibly lowering your pricing too, once you understand your efficiency. So that way your customers are getting 100% efficiency, and so is your company, which is the ultimate goal. So hopefully you guys take away a lot from this episode.
Yeah.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Billy, welcome to the show.
Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hey,
yeah,
glad to be back.
We got Sera users already waiting on your every word here, Billy, so this better be good.
Right.
I know they're anxiously waiting for us to give it to them.
Yeah.
I definitely want to let them know that we're going to release it the second week of May to them, and so they can get started on improving their efficiency right away.
Perfect. All right. So you want to get jumping right in here, or you want to do a little pre-explaining what we got going on, or?
Sure. Go ahead and put the first slide up. And what I'll talk about at first is just real quickly is in this day and age, we've got a lot of headwinds going on. We've got interest rates going up, inflation, everything's going up that we sell several times.
Oh, yeah.
I think we just got a 9% increase like last month.
Yeah. Well, we got an announcement that we're getting one this week or next week.
I saw something about by 2023, like 20 to 30% across all manufacturers, something like that. So I don't know how accurate that is, but I've seen some stuff out there that's
wild.
It's going to suck.
It is. And so we've always thought about efficiency and ran our businesses like this. And efficiency is going to allow you to offset these price increases because a lot of the money that goes into running these businesses is just inefficiencies, redundancy, and all of that stuff. And that's really what Sera is all about. It's about time, right? And if we can reduce everyone's time and improve their efficiency at the same time, we'll get a lot of improvement. And so Billy Go, which is my HVAC and plumbing company, has been beta testing this thing now for almost 3 months. And we started off at 37% efficiency when we turned it on. And then we made our way up to 89%. And I just checked, and for the month of we made our way to 89% for the quarter, for first quarter. Wow. And then right now in the first 27 days, we're actually at 77% efficiency. So we've got a little bit of work to do. We're doing a lot of tune-ups, but this includes even like going out and doing free tune-ups, right? And our efficiency level has, stayed relatively good, better than 37%.
Right.
So we're still double that, and we expect to see more and more improvement as we move along. But it's been a real big eye opener. I've tried doing this on spreadsheets over the years, but by the time you get it all figured out, and have someone that spends all their time crushing this data, the data is old,
Right.
And the nice thing about having Sera is everything is live. So the second a job is finished, how much time anyone who ever went to that job has spent on it. How much time they build and all those cool things. So without any further just preview, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to see today. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide.
All right.
We had technical difficulties this morning, so I'm having Tersh drive the car, and
Right.
I'm not sure if he's had anything to drink today, so it may be a little.
It's like I have the steering
Billy.
wheel and you have the brakes and the gas pedal, and so it's like
Billy, you probably should have asked me to do this.
I was looking at both of you, and he looked a little more trustworthy.
I don't know. It's a toss up there.
It was. I flipped the coin. So thanks for joining us, everybody. So job time tracking is the total labor across all appointments for a job. And what that means is if you send a technician out to a job, and let's say he doesn't sell for you, he flips, or even if he does sell for you, but we can capture all the time, the drive time, the time spent at the job, and all these things that he's there. And then he can flip right out of our tech app to a salesperson. And that salesperson will keep up with their time and their efficient, how much time they spent on the job, how much time they drove to the job, because we're buying their gas, and we all know gas is out of sight. And then let's say he sells it, and then he's able to schedule an install team right there in front of the customer. And where it gets really interesting here is usually when you have an install crew, there's 2 people. Some companies run 3 people. So I actually have a tool to help you decide if 2 is more efficient than 3 now. So you will find out in live time whether you're winning or losing on the battle of 2-man crews versus 3-man crews. It's really neat how this. Really
one of the things that I used to say back in the day, I still say it a little bit, is two is a team and then 3 is a party. So
I agree.
we get 3 people on a job, and all of a sudden it turns into a real inefficient job.
Yeah. I'm going to wait and see the data.
Okay.
on that one. So it may be like you say, but one of the things that we can tell is who's the most efficient and most profitable, because it's not always the top selling tech, right? It could be someone in the middle. And so we identify this through this tracking that we figured out and built into Sera. And so it's really about that, is just being able to charge for every minute of everyone's time. And if we can figure that out, we can overcome price increases, because the efficiency will allow us to sell at a lower margin, right?
Oh yeah.
Because we're more efficient and make more money, right? That's the whole idea. We can't do anything about the price of equipment. It's going to keep going up.
Exactly.
So we need to stop thinking in the old ways of, that one lever, the only lever we have is to raise prices. When we get these price increases, or not use a lever at all. A lot of people just ignore it and pass it on, and lose out, and the customer, gets the benefit, I guess. And so we want to stop that, and we want people to start thinking about how to run their businesses efficiently instead of only having the option of raising prices. All right. So with that. So this job time tracker, as you can see here, this is just a PowerPoint presentation today. And what you're looking at here is a person's job. And the circled area there is the job time section of the customer's job. So in Sera, everything is at one spot. You don't have to move around all over the place. You can just get about to anything you need with the click. Because if it's blue, you can dive into
clickable.
anything. It's clickable. That is correct.
Gotcha.
And so, so this is basically how the actual job looks. And if basically we can review the actual time work versus the sold time, and travel time, work time, and actual duration of time of everyone on the job. So you see there's multiple people on jobs and stuff. I think the next one, if you'll go to the next, this is a way to dive into. You couldn't really see all of this on that one slide, so I magnified it here. And so in this particular job, it was actually 85% efficient. And so between all the folks that went to this job, they traveled 3 hours and 38 minutes. And one thing I want to point out here, this is pretty much done without any manual input at all. This is Sera taking care of this. We're not telling you to fill out all this stuff after every job. In fact, you don't have to really do anything. All you have to do is when you have an install team, if they're always the same 2 people on the install team, you don't have to do anything. But if someone calls in sick and you want to put someone different, you just make that transfer. You literally just drag his name under the name of that lead, and then off you go. And that's all you have to do. Only in that situation. Otherwise, it's 100% automated. And that's
now. Is there somewhere that we're putting in their hourly pay or their fully loaded labor rate or anything like that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. That's in the price book.
Okay, and that's where it's taking that data from.
Yes, sir. So the price book is a living piece of our software. So which makes it very unique. It's not static. It actually helps you create these efficiencies, and without it, you can't have the efficiencies that you're looking for. And then it goes back to previous podcasts when we talked about margin pricing and all that. It's all about grabbing your prices, what you should be charging out of your financials, getting them into the price book in the right spot at the right amounts, and then using efficiency to hone in on perfection. Okay. Gotcha. It's just real easy to do. We did all the hard work in the background so that you could have an easy time with this. So it's basically, fairly easy to do without any extra work. And that's the key. No extra work.
Could you dive into me? So so for anyone listening to this, hopefully you go back and watch this. He has some numbers on the screen, and it tells the job efficiency based on the sold hours and the actual amount of travel and work that's been done. And the job efficiency on this example is 85%. So essentially, the example is they worked, the work time was 12 and a half hours over what was sold. Can you break down a little bit okay, so customer of yours sees this, or a contractor sees this. What should they do with this data? Because I know a lot of times when contractors see data, they're like, that's great.
What do I do now?
I don't know what to do, especially like if it's under or over, what different things should they be thinking about doing so that way they can level out and try to get to that 100% efficiency across all jobs?
Absolutely. Great question, Josh. And so KPIs are near and dear to my heart, but the right KPIs are the ones I care about. And if your KPI can't answer the question, what, just what, with a question mark, what am I learning here, and what do I do about it? Right? That's what we have to answer on every KPI. And if it doesn't move the needle, it's a KPI you probably don't need, because we gloss over those anyway. It's getting down to, how do I affect my financial statement, with this information? So what do I do? I'm over here. So what Sera will do is it looks at this job. We'll have this information. And we see that we're over in 12 hours and 33 minutes. Now that's a snapshot, right? So we need to go in and we need to look at our task, and we need to take a look at where we can improve, or what we need to do here is Sera is actually, I don't like snapshot KPIs because they don't really give the what do I do with this, and what did I learn? And so Sera is going to grab this data over time, and we'll show you on a couple slides here in a minute, where you gather all the data from all the techs, from all the jobs that were done each day, from all the jobs that were done each month. And then you start getting a clear picture of which task you have improperly priced because of the time, right? And a perfect example is when we go in and set up this feature. When you have 2 people and on an install crew, you can't put a system in 8 hours. Right. With 2 people. It's 16 hours with 2 people. Right. And with flat rate pricing, and your pricing's 350, 400, 500, I've heard, all these big numbers. How in the world are you going to put 16 hours on there?
Exactly.
Right. You're just using dummy numbers. From start to finish. Yeah. And so you have to use 6 or 8 to make your price work. So now you have no data, and you can't understand what I need to do. Right. That's where I don't know what to do with this data is, because there is no clarity, right?
Mhm.
It's just a bunch of
numbers that they get a report on. They're like, oh, okay, that's well, it's whatever.
I
I'll wait
was
till
I
next
was
month's
told
report.
should be in this area, and I'm close. Good, I move
Yep.
on,
Mhm.
right? And I think the opposite. You know, one of the things that people, that I've heard from some of my clients and stuff is they want to get information. Like when we sell a new system, I want to get a text message, and I want to know what I sold and all that, because I want to see what we're doing, and it gives me adrenaline, right? It makes me happy.
It's that
But I
dopamine rush.
I want to see a text message when we didn't sell it, because
Yeah. The unconverted
right?
jobs.
Yes. Those got sold. Great. What I want to see is what we didn't sell, so
Yeah.
that we can do something about it, and answer the what, what happened here to cause us not to sell this job. So it could have been that maybe your price is just so out of whack because it costs you so much to run business. So your close rate is not as good as it should be. Maybe your close rate goal is 60%, 70%, whatever it is. Well, as you fine tune this over time, you can improve that close rate. We've experienced that in this last 90 days. As we fine tune this thing more and more, our close rate is creeping up, because now we've got our prices where they should be. We're not too high, where we have room. And if we're too low, we can move it and get it closer to where we need to be. And that's the really cool thing about it is, and you can get into like the 25th of the month, and
Yeah.
you met your goal for what it cost, what your minimal goal is for the month to cover your overhead cost and all your cogs, right? And with 5 days left in the month, you could pull a report on the jobs you missed, and you'll be able to see that if you were, by the data that you now have, that if you rehashed every one of those jobs that you didn't get, and the data tells you that you could actually sell those jobs 20% cheaper and improve your profitability by X, then now you have data that you know what to do with.
For sure
Yeah.
know what to do with it, not guessing.
What a
Just-
Right.
what a low hanging fruit from the point of having a contracting business. All the stuff we don't sell, and understanding what we can do to get that sale. It's such a low hanging fruit where eventually guys they just start standing around, or they don't have anything to do that day. They have a half day or something in the slow season because we didn't sell enough to keep everything flowing. I love where this is going, because I know there's more to this as you
Sure.
kind of peel back the onion, but this is great stuff.
On the flip side is it's live information. And so you can actually rehash live while the tech's there, or the salesman's there, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So you can avoid that whole by the 25th thing altogether, because Sera the thing about Sera is we set margins. We try to hit margin goals. We know what our overhead goals are. And once we handle those, we know that we can now sell at a discounted rate to actually bring in more revenue. Because think about it like this: you're at the 25th of the month, you've handled all your bills for the month, right? And you're trying to get to that next number, and you don't know, where you stand. You're trying to still sell at the maximum price, so you're lowering your prices. And let's just say you lower from a 60 margin to a 50, and your overhead is 40. Okay. So what happens is here's where the beauty comes into making more money for your company is if you sell at a 50, once all of your costs of doing business are handled, you keep the 50.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just the 10. You keep
Right.
the 50.
I think that's a point that a lot of people miss, is once those overhead costs are taken care of, it's you get the 50, the whole 50.
That's right. So let's improve our close rate in that last however many days of the month and get the whole 50. Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Billy, do you have an example of like a task that you guys had maybe had set aside too much time on, and the price, do you have an example of something like this that you guys have tweaked over that last 90 days that brought the cost down or brought the cost up and helped you guys become more efficient? So just like, so people can think of put
So
like
in
a
the
real
last-
example with it.
In the last 90 days, water heater installs, we really were off on those.
Off how? High or low?
We were off by being over, if you will. In
Okay.
other words, inefficient. Okay. So in this case, we were inefficient. But then on the smaller stuff, like onesie twosies task, that, $300 to $500 range, we were actually under. And that's where we had to add time and do things like that, because we actually were realizing that our technicians couldn't get that job done as quickly as we thought. And because there's more to it, you have the talking to the customer, you have the, doing your due diligence on a tune-up per se. And
all that rapport
so we were
building.
able to, we were able to tweak those in real time. So I know we try to get this done in 20 minutes, but let's try for 30 now. So let's go to the next slide.
There's just there's so much good stuff here. It's hard to confine it.
Yeah. And if we don't make it, that's fine. I've got plenty of time. Just thinking about your listeners and watchers. So, their time's valuable.
Absolutely.
So what makes job efficiency accurate? So work crews, we got to understand, that when we have work crews, it's double the cost, right? You have 2 people on these crews, maybe 3 people, depending on what kind of jobs. I mean, we sell a lot of repipes underneath houses, and in some cases we may have 4 or 5 people on the job. And those really shine when you find out how off you are on your bidding. It's a $20,000. Yes. A $20,000 job, and you got your lunch eaten. I mean, it's just, and so that's another example of where Josh, that question you asked earlier, that we were just way off. We were just way off. We didn't realize how off we were on those, and now it's becoming clearer. But it's taken, you're going to get this data live, but you still need, a good 90 days worth of data to start really playing around with it. Because it's going to give you that info, and it's going to give you that info individually and as an entire department. You can look at it from the department standpoint. You can look at it from the entire company standpoint. So
you can see like if commercial service HVAC was losing you money, but then commercial, maintenance was making you money, then like one was robbing Peter to pay Paul, where
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
all
really
right.
good stuff. Like seriously, I think about like the conversation between service maintenance and replacement, and most people have no idea. They're like, well, we do service because it leads to replacement, but they have no idea. Like there's no numbers behind that. It's just, this is why we do it, but we might be losing money here even when we shouldn't be.
Right. It's getting ourselves out of the dark and understanding, that if we're going to be open 24/7, we need to figure out a way to charge for being open 24/7.
Very true.
And that's really where it comes down to. So using work crews is essential for job time tracking. It's just very important that, everyone that ever touches a job, gets tracked, and they don't even need an app to get tracked from, we can track them still. And so a tech app is what I meant to say. They don't need the actual tech app. They can be a install helper. They can be a parts runner. New hires without an app yet. You're training them. You want to know what it costs you to train somebody?
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is going to tell you for sure. What's that really costing you? Not just the payroll that you're paying the guy, but now you're being inefficient by 50%, right? Because you've got a guy you're training. So do we want to bake that in?
That's a good point. Most of the times it's purely guesswork. Like, oh, he's slowing down because he's doing this, or, he's trying to help train this guy, and this will actually show it and prove it that it is or isn't the case.
I'm not a big proponent of paying commission. We don't pay our guys commission. We pay them on an hourly rate, and that hourly rate increases as they bring in more revenue, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that's been very successful for us since 2003. And the nice thing about having this is you have a tendency to have guys that are, and girls that, they see that they're, they need hours. They're being paid by the hour.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
And slow down a little bit.
You say, oh man, that guy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now you can show it to him, and you can show it to his peers, and they can all see this data. And then all of a sudden their ears perk up, and they're like, oh, heck, they're on to me. Right. And so they start doing a much better job of being more efficient, because since we've implemented this at Billy Go in the 90 days, we're not always talking about the revenue. Like we always got that favorite tech or two that's got the big
right.
revenue numbers, that guy that's,
Oh, yeah.
always bragging on that guy,
Mhm.
Now we're seeing, that this guy maybe he's not as efficient. He's a one-shot hitter. He hits big or he hits nothing, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
his efficiency is just terrible. And so this is helping us figure all this out. And then as we show them efficiency, they become more aware. Okay, I got to do a better job at base hits. I
Mhm.
can't always go for the home run. And you have live information, of course, on our dashboard. All the information's live, and we have a tech dashboard, so you can see everything on there that matters, the KPIs that matter. And then you can actually pull that guy aside just by looking at his dashboard, and you'll know what to tell that guy, what you need to train him on.
It's no longer
It's
the
just-
gut feeling like, oh, I just
Yep.
feel like you're
Yep.
not doing it. And
That's exactly
you have the
right.
data
Take the
behind it.
emotion out of it. It's now it's numbers driven versus
Yep.
well, I feel
Given-
that you're doing this or that thing. It's actually no, this is the real data. Let's talk about this.
Yep.
That's correct. And this is a lot of what this opens up for you.
Mhm.
Okay, and then if there's any, you can manage an editing crew member times. Let's say, for instance, you have a guy that they're going to a job and they have a flat, right? At that point in time, Sarah's figured out that he's not going to be able to make it to this job because he's stopped the job and he's stopped in his
Mhm.
tracks, if you will. And you can reassign other folks to go over there and help them fix the tire, or and manage that time against that guy's time if you want to. And you can change. Maybe one of the guys got hurt that was in the truck riding with the truck or whatever. Another guy can now go to that job as well. So this just allows you for those exceptions. And these are very rare that you have to change these, but you have that option. And that is really the only manual piece of this whole thing. Everything else is automated.
Gotcha.
All right. And then earlier I talked about how easy it is. On this slide here, if you see the number 1 with a circle on it there, that basically you just grab that guy by his name, you grab that little bluish color, and you just slide it underneath the name that's off to the left in the boxes there, and then you're done. There's your work crew.
And that's how you assign your helpers.
That's how you assign. So if a guy calls in sick, you assign him to another guy to this guy because he has a job that you need him to be on or whatever. And then that's how you start tracking these guys, and you know who they're with. So you're not always wondering, where did Billy Bob go today?
Yeah.
So,
Simple.
Yes, sir. And then keeping task times updated makes Sera price book a living document. I said this earlier. A price book is not static. It is actually a dynamic price book, and it is an integral part of helping you changing your prices, as you get these price increases, and, in little to no time at all, you can completely update your price book. As soon as you get the SKU number and the new price from your vendors, you can update your price book in, less than 2 minutes. And so this is how we do it. Just a slide just to show you how simple it is to edit tasks. If you want to add more description for them, if you want to assign them as upgrades to other tasks, all these things you can do inside the price book. And our price book is included in the Sera software. It's not something we charge extra for, and it actually does way more than any other price book on the market these days.
Sweet.
All right. And then here's the roll-up report, where you can see what's happening for a department or for the company. These are all the calls that could have been ran today. And then you can literally dive into this information just by clicking anything that's blue. You can dive in and go straight into the customer and start looking at these and start assessing the situation. This report also allows you to do various KPIs within it. Show me all the overs,
Gotcha.
for this time period, and just dive in on the overs. Show me all the unders. You can do that. Show me, by the tech in the department, all of this stuff. You can look at it and get the information that you need right inside our report section and inside Sera.
That's really cool. I like how it says your job efficiency over on the right hand side there, and then the under the end result, like your actual hours that you're over, like your smaller ticket items, like you can have a larger percentage, or like a larger percentage of job efficiency deficit with a smaller amount of time that they actually were over. So it just kind of brings it back into perspective that 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there really hurts your efficiency.
It really does, and it's important that we learn how to use this data, answer the what, and use it to our advantage, and keep evaluating it over time. And as more time you have using this, the more efficient you can make your company, because you start getting those real numbers that you're looking for.
Yeah, this is such an awesome feature because it's live. I love it's live, like literally, because I think about the stuff that I used to do on the back end in the office of the companies I worked for. And a lot of it's like trying to pull reports, and I'm trying to like dive into stuff. And it was never simple to do job costing. And this is literally like job costing, job's done. As it's going, it's there. Like you already know if you're over for the day. And I love that. Like I could think of a scenario where I come in the morning, or someone, in the operations side comes in the morning, looks at all the jobs from the previous day, dives into it. Are there any big problems that we need to solve? Or are they starting to see a trend? Do we need to bring someone in to talk? All that kind of stuff, like installs, especially, because that you can really, as we all know, certain installs you can lose your ass on real quickly.
Yep.
And just go back to the person who sold the job and make sure that they are understanding how to sell these things. So they look for these things ahead of time, because, hey, you missed this, and this is what happened to the company because of it. Not, hey, I'm pissed at you because you didn't do this, or you missed this thing. It's the numbers say you didn't do this right. So I just love how it takes the feeling out of everything. It's black and white versus gray. And I think it leads to easier conversations, because management it's a hard thing for contractors. Contractors are good with their hands. They're good at fixing stuff. But having those conversations with other technicians is sometimes it's usually a one-sided conversation, right? They don't know how to have that like dialogue where it's actually having something to discuss and showing them why, versus, well, you screwed up. Go fix it.
Exactly.
Right?
Do the technicians see this? Like, can they see it from their side?
As of right now, that's a no.
Okay.
We do not let them see it at this point. We're going to start letting them see it once we build. There's another piece that we want to build in to this. That's going to take it a whole nother level. We're going to actually get the gross margin of every job live.
Okay.
That's the next level.
Yeah.
And then once we produce that, then we'll stick it on their dashboard, because that's an integral piece of what we want them to see as well. And so we're going to have the profitability. So we're going to have live job costing like you've never seen before. I mean, it's actually true job costing.
Yeah. And I like the fact that if they see it, then they're not surprised at that point. Like if they can see it every day, and it's like, all right, so I know
transparency.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
When we have this conversation, it's not a surprise conversation to have.
Well, because employees as a whole, they want to know how they're doing. And having that transparency helps them understand I either suck at my job or I'm doing really well, without really needing like someone to pat them on the back or kick them in the ass, So I love that. That's where you guys are heading, that transparency, because I think that leads to employee engagement too.
Right. So the reason we don't show the text in the beginning is because we want the owners to have an opportunity to make this right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you start throwing out the bad data to your tech immediately, then they don't care.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't show it to the tech until they're able to get it all dialed in, and then we start showing it to them, and we can be real with them. Right. And the thing about it is, as we know, technicians, if there's any technicians watching this, I say this with love, techs will try to game any system you put together. That's why we have so many
Games.
That's why we have so many pay systems that are just killed businesses, and that's why this labor rate is 25, 30, 35%, for these jobs. And so they can game commission, they can game hourly, they can game all this stuff. So the nice thing about putting efficiency into your software system and being able to know it, and then when we make it transparent, is the only way to game a low efficiency in job costing is to do a better job.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the way that you pay out, is that something that's pretty standard in Sera? That payment calculator, that payment type?
So you're talking about the payroll?
Yeah, payroll. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have our payroll process in Sera just yet.
Okay.
I think we'll probably have that about the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Again, this is a lot of stuff that's cutting edge, right? We've been running our companies the same way for 100 years now.
Yeah.
The last big revolution was flat rate, from hourly to flat rate. And I remember when I adopted flat rate immediately. I didn't waste 1 minute. I went to one seminar on it and I was hooked. And then I joined, I was in some groups and I started talking about how we flat rate and what we're doing and and I was called everything in the world. I was a crook. I was everything. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then those people that were yelling at me back then are now saying you got to be at $500 an hour flat rate. So I'm like, and so I think a lot of the reasons why we were successful, with our companies is we didn't waste time. I was on Google the whole entire first page for almost 3 years before I had any competition, because everybody was fighting for the yellow pages, and so we jumped out of them and we jumped into Google. It was a risk, but I could see and feel that was where we needed to be. And I was correct and it worked out. And
now everybody's on Google. Should we jump back on Yellow Pages?
No,
definitely not.
No, but we should jump back into SEO.
Right.
I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Don't get distracted too much by social media, because you need that SEO as well to help your social media. So that I do believe. We've gotten away from it a little bit with all the distractions of you can market here, there, and everywhere. And Josh will agree with me on that one.
I'll bang on that drum with you.
Yeah, you got to get that one dialed in too. And fortunately, we have something in Sera that helps, and Josh has seen that as well. And so it's really about, you can wait until everybody accepts it, or you can jump in there and accept it.
Yeah.
And get going and make change and quit relying on the one lever you have right now, which I got to raise my prices or lose money, and start working on the efficiency of your business, because we just don't. And
that's going to be a big thing. That's going to be a big thing with buying, with all this VC money out here buying up, and these companies, the companies that aren't being purchased, they need to be more efficient, because that's the big companies. They're going to have buying power. Smaller companies or privately held companies won't necessarily have as much buying power, so they're going to have to become efficient in other ways. And
it's twofold. The PE firms are just as inefficient.
True.
And sometimes more so, because of all the different businesses running all over the place. So and so somebody's got to jump in and start leading the pack, whether it's PE and private. I mean, it's time to make change. The world's changing, our industry's changing. We're finally getting our due, our respect, of the trades and the hard work, and people have done well and sold their companies and lived a life that maybe they never thought possible, and all those things are cool. But it doesn't mean we're done.
Oh, right.
There's a lot more to do, and we need to get more efficient and not rely on extremely high pricing to combat, to go against your neighbors, your competitors.
I was going to interject with something like this, because we talked earlier about price increases and now there's inflation. At some point, people are not going to replace their system. They're going to try to they're going to throw some repair money in there, and they're going to stop going for replacement because their replacement cost is going to be so ridiculous, even with financing. And if we don't know our efficiency on repairs and our repair price just keeps going up because our flat rate keeps going up, we're going to lose out on a lot of money that can help us stay afloat during that time where we can't depend on, let's say, 75% of our business being all replacement jobs. And I think having that information is going to be so vital, because at some point, we haven't had a recession in 14 years, 13 years. It's going to happen at some point, and things aren't going to be as good as they are right now, or at least as good as they have been, especially for the home service industry. So it's just preparing yourself, knowing your numbers. All those things are going to play a big part in what will eventually come, as we know the cycle of this stuff always comes, and the signs are there, right? Yeah. The signs are there, the inflation, the equipment price increases, all this stuff. So that would be my caution to anyone listening to this. If you don't know your numbers, that would be, especially since we're not in like the middle of summer yet, I would spend a lot of time on this stuff coming up here.
Yep.
Get it right. Talk with someone like Billy and Sera.
There's nothing worse than going through the whole summer and then realizing that your numbers were wrong all summer. Like,
because now you got to wait 8 months until the next summer season.
Right. But look at the cash you would have if you were, had your efficiency done right, your numbers, and you go into the fall with all this money in the bank.
Well, you could bank on, you could give discounts to do work later, as long as you know those numbers and you know what can keep you busy in the fall, like duct, in the South, duct replacements, all that type of stuff. You can really plan to keep your business busy at least close to year round. So that way you don't have these huge.
You know how you do that? You sell maintenance agreements all summer.
Are you going to do that this summer, Tersh?
Dang right I am.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise, Billy's going to reach through this screen and slap you.
He's still on the School of Hard Knocks. I'm working on it.
Yep. Cool. Billy, we appreciate you sharing this with us and sharing with our listening audience and everything. Josh, you have anything before we close up?
No, I love this stuff. This is great. I love where the industry is going with this transparency, because I think it's sorely needed. And there's a reason why homeowners don't generally trust a contracting company, because they just don't know. So the transparency on our end is going to be key as we move forward, because buyers are only getting smarter. They're not getting dumber. There's more information available to them literally every single day. So the more transparent we can be and the more honest we can be with our pricing and all that stuff, I think is going to lead to a better customer experience.
Yeah, online purchasing is going to, that's going to put a dent in your pocket as well. Online purchasing. And
we got someone you should talk to.
And this is going to help with that problem.
Yeah.
Billy, where do we go? Sera.tech.
Sera.tech.
Okay. Cool.
TECH, Sera.tech.
Perfect. Thank you again, Billy. And
all right,
thank
guys.
you
Appreciate
everybody
you
that's watching this. Until we talk again next time, hope you have a wonderful and safe week. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.